Okay, good evening, team. We wish to continue from where we ended in the previous lecture. Previous lecture, we had considered the computer basics. We had 7 contents on the course content. Today we have 6 contents that are left. And today we'll cover the first to remain with 5. Computer parts. Also want to take note of the challenges that the team had mentioned on the previous lecture over the failure to be able to view the shared information, especially the video shared segment. So we are looking into it to have a drive storage where we can post that information and be able to share. Mostly that should be attended to, and during the course of the day, the information should be able to be, that channel should be able to be released for easy access and followed. So computer parts. The introduction to the computer parts from the last closing chapter of our previous topic, we had brought to mind different categories of computers. We had mentioned there are supercomputers, mainframe computers. We had mentioned of embedded computers. At this point now I want to take note of the personal computers. So personal computers, that's what comprises your laptops, your desktops, and this is now the main one that we want to go underneath. We want to get to know how do the components get to work in it, and understand what are the components that are, how they are connected, and how each gets to relate with the other to give us the output result. Because we had mentioned that the information has to be inputted, computed, there's a storage, and then there's an output. So we want to see which components specifically are involved in this. So we also wish to make a notice that the computer is made of, any computer, be it personal, laptop, desktop, whatsoever, they are made of 2 segments. We have a software segment, we have a hardware segment. The software segment is the topic for the next discussion. Today we want to go deep in the hardware segment. We want to understand what is the hardware. So in simple explanation of what a hardware component is any physical component that you can see on a computer. What you can see and touch on a computer is a hardware. You have a desktop computer, what you can see basically and touch is the hardware. The software is something that you can't touch. It's in the literal sense, we can compare the hardware and the software to a human being. A human being is also made of 2 segments. There's a physical, which is the actual body. There's a spiritual segment, e.g. thoughts. Thoughts are something that you can't see, but you're able to imagine. They're just imaginary thing that is there, so we're able to create it. But the 2 of them, one can't work without the other. We have to combine the spiritual and the physical to make the full component. So we want to go today in the underneath of the hardware segment, understanding what each component is capable of doing and how do they contribute to the outwork of a computer. The input, computation, output, and storage. Want to understand how these hardware segments get to work one from another in terms of sending information. Here we go. So the hardware components, among the things that you can see on a computer and touch, we have a motherboard. We'll explain further for you to understand what really a motherboard is. We have a hard disk. This we talked about. It's a hard drive, which is a secondary storage. We have a RAM, which is a primary storage. We have power supply. We have a processor. We have a case, which is the body where the computer has been, the skeleton of the computer has been embedded in. So we have these cases, some are Dell, HP, Lenovo. They'll make different fancy designs. But basically what is inside is one and the same. So those are the cases. We have a monitor, which we are using for viewing the screen on the computer, desktop, or laptop. The screen, that's a monitor. We have a keyboard or keypad. So that's where we are typing, entering the input device. Then we have the mouse that is helping us to rove around, select, and open programs as per se. So basically I want to go underneath this and understand how each are connected and how the information get to flow from one segment to the other until we have the output component. Here what we are seeing in this pictorial view is basically how the information get to flow. So there is an input device. We mentioned the keyboard. The command is sent to the computer through the USB ports or the ports. So on the ports, we also get to understand what are those ports. But basically, if you have come to know the USB port, the universal serial bus, it's where you get to push in your maybe your flash disk, your USB cable, you have external keyboard, you connect them through those ports. So information is fed to the computer through such either a mouse, you're going to move it, the keyboard, you're pressing, commanding the keys that you want to enter, is it turning on the computer? So those are fed through the USB port. So that information moves, but the channel through that information moves to go to the motherboard where the processor is to feed that information. Those roads, that information flow from the keyboard to the computer inside the computer where the processor is what we are calling the buses or the bus. It's a channel, it's just a road where the information is going to take the information to the processor for computation. So your input, physical buttons you press, you're typing on Microsoft Word, what you type is going through that channel, through the bus, it moves through that information, go to the processor has to make sense. The processor will connect now to the RAMs. Will connect to the RAMs, then from the RAMs it will connect to the hard drive. From the hard drive, the information can now come out through the ports again to the output device, which is your screen, the monitor, to give you the output. So this is the underneath of what happens for any information that you push through the computer. And understanding this is a quick summary to any computer that you're going to understand. Once you know this, you know the computer. But we're going to break it down physically, even to see a video, how all these things are connected, and how a computer in its skeleton form gets to function, so that each one of us be able to understand and know what is really happening under a computer per pressing or per information inputted. So basically from the video seen there, we can see there are speakers, which are external or the output device. We have a keyboard, which is an input device. We have a monitor, an output device. We have the system unity. System unity comprises the motherboard inside. There are hard drives, hard disks, secondary and primary processors, motherboards, everything. They are all inside this CPU. We also open it to know and see how those things are connected. We have a mouse, which is an input device to send information into the computer. So this is the monitor that we are talking about for display sake. It's going to give us the output information that will be connected to the system unity through a cable such that output information can be given. We have a keypad or keyboard that can be connected to a computer through wireless, or it can be connected through the cable. It has a cable that can be pushed through the USB ports, and information will be sent as usual. There's a mouse, similar to the keyboard, will push information wirelessly or via cable through the USB ports. Uh, Away from that, we have now the system unity, the one we said we'll break it to see what is involved inside. So in the system unity, we can see there what we call the power supply. So basically, this is where the power is pushed in, the cable for power, and it is a power supply. So this one is just basically a transformer that is going to regulate the voltage, because what you are entering here is a 240 volts. So once you push, this is the home voltage, 240 volts is dropped down by this transformer inside, which is in the power supply, to give the computer the needed power. What you are seeing underneath there is a motherboard. It's a motherboard because it's the one that houses all the components that are going to be connected. You have the hard drives, we have the RAMs, we have the processors, everything are going to be mounted there. So we see there's a fan there. You can see in front here, there is a CD on top where we push. There's a hard drive pushed in. Here we won't see everything clearly, but in the later stages, we're going to understand all those. We just want to see in the open stage how everything is connected. So this is the motherboard now we're talking about. We're calling to the mother because it houses everything. It's the base on which all the other components are going to mount on the computer. So this space that you see here is where the processor comes to mount. The thinking process of the machine comes to mount here. And On top, there is a fan that comes on top of, just like on top of this processor, there is a fan that mounts on top. As we had earlier mentioned, there is a fan and a metal plate, which is copper, for his copper heat conduction, so that the system be kept cool. What you are able to see here, these slots, they are RAM slots. So that's where the primary memories get to be installed in. So it's a chip we can put. The goodness with desktop can give you a number of slots where we can get to push. What we are seeing here, these are the slots where we put the graphics card. We'll get to see what really is a graphic card and what do they do, the essence of them in the computer. From there, you can see there are USB ports, there are Ethernet cable ports, Ethernet jacks. We can see there the audio where we can listen to music. We can see there is a output. These are for output, VGA cable, and in the older version, those used to be for keyboards, the older computers. So a power supply will push power through this jack, will push power in, then the power will be distributed, just like we had earlier mentioned. This one will push in, the hard drive will be connected, and everything as normal. We'll get to explain further how the information flow. Don't look at it to be complex. It's as simple once we are done breaking it down. So the processor, this is the guy that we said, the brain of a computer, and will come according to the size to do the thinking and give you the output. So the power supply. Power supply, this is the one we said. So you're going to push your cable for power from your home power, push a cable here. Then this one inside has a transformer and it will be kept at a good temperature, also has a small fan in it. Then at the end of the day, it is going to be to output voltage. So this is the voltage these are the cables that you're seeing that are releasing power. So down is there is a cable entry for our power supply. Then after that, the cable now will distribute all the power that is needed for external components. So we come to the fan. Like we had earlier mentioned, the fan mostly it comes to cool the system, that is the processor. So it will be attached to this metal copper for his heat transmission. So it will be running, cooling the processor underneath. That's how it is attached. So there's this copper plate down here, there's a fan here, and down there will be a processor connected to allow heat transmission. We come to the desktop RAMs. So the desktop RAM is this one, the tall, long one. Those are the ones now that are giving us the information now, the primary memory, so to say. If you see on the RAM, it has the size. So this is half a GB, 512 MB, half a GB. What you can see is that these are laptop RAMs. They are smaller. This one is also a laptop RAM and it's also the similar size. It's a smaller size as this one. These are the primary memory which we mentioned, or the disk where you are getting to operate from to access the information from the storage. These are the ports. So from the ports here, like we mentioned, these ones in old days we used to use them for keyboard and the mouse input. This is for internet. This one are USB ports. This is an Ethernet jack. These ones that we are seeing here are USB ports. Then this is for audio. There's an output device that we get to use. So we'll get to understand what basically these things are. So we mentioned of a CD-ROM. So this is a CD-ROM, sometimes a DVD-ROM, and this is the component that we'll find on the desktop where we're going to push. For a laptop, it's just on your side. Some computers will have this. When you press, it comes out. You push a CD, though the system now is trying to run away from it. But desktops, they are having them for such type of heavy works because they're industrial made, so to say. So the graphics card, this is now the graphics card that we mentioned on those motherboard slots, looking similar to the RAM slots. This is where now you get to push. What happens is, for some computers, big computers, you want to use something to make play 3D games. You want to use those who do 3D applications, something like AutoCAD. What they want is some applications that will They want good visual because they are seeing three-dimensional things. So the graphics, instead of your phone, when you say, what are the specs pixels of your phone, you take a picture, the footage you see, the video is poor. In a computer is different. You just buy a big graphics card that will allow you to see something high resolution. So basically this chip, once you buy it, you slot it in your computer, it will give you a perfect view that you wanted. So here now we want to have a short video that will explain basically the component, the combination, or how the components are related one from another. Please pay attention and master something from here. What we are showing here is not related to only one specific computer. It's like the skeleton of all computers. The covers might be different, presented in different shapes, but the being is one individual. So that's what we're talking about. We're saying the being can be a male, can be a female. The clothes will be different, fashioned in any different pattern. What we are saying, we're going to see that it can be a desktop, it can be a laptop. But what you're going to see inside is basically a simple skeleton that people clothe differently. So please pay attention.
Okay, good evening. So, as you can see, here we have that is the normal computer system, that is a personal computer. So in that category, we've said that involves your laptops, your desktops. So here I just wanted to show something simple. From what you can see here, this is the system unity. From the system unity, we have the monitor, we have the keyboard, we have the mouse, more like something physical that we can get to see on the computer. On the other side, we have a laptop. On it, it's comprising, we have almost everything embedded as one. We have a trackpad or the mouse pad, the keyboard. We have a screen. So everything is more like compressed. So behind or inside here is where we have the motherboard, the CPU, everything. That is, this one is inside here. The keyboard is already what we are seeing outside here. The mouse, it's what we are actually having here. So what I've done is I'll rip apart this desktop. We have ripped apart. There's a video that we have ripped apart to show you each and every component that is involved inside, because we want to go on the underneath of it. To make it more interesting, we've ripped apart a laptop that we want to open up. Then we basically get to understand what are those physical components of it. So the one that I've opened, I've just put the parts spread out, just remove from the keyboard and everything. Then I've put the skeleton here. So from what we can see here, this is our hard drive. It's our hard drive that is connected. Like we had already said, that this is a secondary storage. Then we have a primary storage here, which is our RAM. So our RAM is a primary storage, and we have a hard drive that is a secondary storage. On top of that, we have a processor. A processor is usually under here because it's a brain, like we had already said. Being the thinking process of the machine, it will be overheating. So it's usually connected to the fan. That will make sure that it is cooling the system with this copper for easy copper heat conduction. So it will be heat, there will be heat conduction, it will be cooled. So most of the time this pipe remains cooled because of the fan, and that keeps the system intact. It's the reason why most of the time we tell people, when you're using a computer, please don't use it on the bed. Try to put some egg trays or something that will elevate it up to allow those vents, the air to come out and in, so that free circulation of air is allowed. And this is what you can get to see. So I've just dismantled, removed the keypad and the mouse. This is the cable that connects the mouse. Then what we have seen, a big one, is a keyboard. So I've just separated them from this machine that is full as this laptop here, but I've just separated it here so that we separate the keyboard from there, so that we see what is really happening inside. From here, what we can notice is, so this is a slot where the RAM gets to be fit. We have the hard drive that is here. Like we mentioned, the processor is underneath here, and the guy needs to be cooled. So then we get to have here, it's a jack where we get to connect the cable that goes to the screen. But the fact that we have removed the screen, so we are using an external connector. An external connector that is connected with this, which is the VGA connector. So you'll find your computers mostly have this, others have the HDMI port, will indicate it also to show what it is. So basically this is a skeleton of a computer. Here we have the power in cable, so your power comes in from here. Once your power comes here, it's demarcated by these capacitors that you are seeing here. So they will get to demarcate the power. Part of it will be going to charge the battery. That is the battery terminal or battery connecting terminal here, which this one has to flash in the normal laptop. So power will be demarcated from here. Part of it will be charging, part of it goes direct to the processor here. Then the processor now will demarcate. So from here, you see there is a cable here which is coming here. This cable is for USB ports, where we can get to attach many other things to the computer. You can put your flash disk, you can put some external mouse, keyboard, many accessories you can get to use. Also this, as you can see, on the motherboard itself, it still has some more components that are there. This is the HDMI port that we mentioned. These are the USB ports that are there. This is the headphone jack. Headphone jack, that's where you put to listen to music, to play, and external speakers and other things. Then this one we have is an Ethernet cable, Ethernet jack. So the jack actually allows you to, connect to an Ethernet for internet. You just connect a Ethernet cable. We'll mention that one when we talk of networking. So you connect the cable here, your computer is powered with internet. One more thing that we have to notice is there's this small guy here. So this small chip, we call it a network adapter or wireless adapter. It's a wireless adapter. So this wireless adapter, mostly if you know, some of you have a computer that has Bluetooth, this is the guy that comes with it. This is the guy that enables you to connect to your hotspot or any Wi-Fi network that is within the area where you are. So when you have this guy in your computer is the one that will enable your computer to connect. If you see, this guy has almost 2 cable connectors. There are some cables that come. There are usually 2. There is a white and a black cable that is something looking like this. So it goes and plugs on one of these as the aerial. It's just more like an aerial for allowing good connectivity. So sometimes you find you have a good computer, but the internet is becoming really difficult for you to work around with it. The Wi-Fi, it's always showing you low bars. So we get to change this one, because this one is a network adapter. It's more like the one that is enabling your computer to be connected to the net. So we get to change it sometimes. If you feel need something different, you want Bluetooth to be enabled or added to your computer, you just go replace this one. It's a cheap, price-wise it's cheap. You just go and replace it. You get a different one, or you can get a different one for good connectivity. So this is the wireless adapter. It enables your computer. Most desktops don't have this. That is these big guys. They mostly don't have these, which can enable your computer to connect wirelessly. But laptops, they have enabled them to have it. For a desktop, what you get to notice is, for the sake of wanting to have internet, we get to add something like this. So this one, we are it's a network adapter. So it doesn't have inside, but the goodness with a desktop, it allows you that you can just buy something like this, cheap, almost 200 or 100 kwacha. You buy this, then you can get to slot it on, and there on your computer will start allowing connectivity for wireless, and Bluetooth and other things will be enabled just by buying something simple as this small flash disk kind of. So that's the same thing that we are seeing here. So now, being a laptop, all those things are put as one. Now what you can get to notice is or like for power flow solely, so power flow comes here. When the power comes, probably 20 volts, 19 volts will enter your computer, will be dropped down from the capacitors that you're seeing here, demarcated. Part of it go to charge the computer, the battery. part of it will get to enter and come to the processor here. So your processor will start distributing. From here you see power code for the fan, power for charging the USB ports, power to go to the hard drive, power to other extended USB ports, and external connectors are also powered on. The normal thing that happens is we connect a power pack here from this jack. Once we connect a power pack, there's a switch here. We go and press, we turn it on, the computer goes on. Once the computer goes on, immediately power comes from there. We allow power to go on. Automatically the processor is enabled. The hard drive starts running. Fan starts running to sense the heat of a computer. Once that is so, the video now, information now is being spread, because the processor now has gotten the input. The input is a command maybe you have made, you've pressed the keyboard or pressed the power on button. This computer now, processor now will give a feedback through now our output device. So that will be the monitor. For now, we want to use this one for visual sake. We have removed the screen for the computer so that we make it easier for viewing. So I'll repeat the hard drive, I'll repeat the RAM, I'll repeat the network adapter, I'll repeat the processor underneath, there's a fan, yes, so that is how the system is connected. So what you will see is we get to connect this power cable, because what we want is to see this computer go on through this side. We want this because this is the computer. Anything else, they are just covers. Underneath the computer, basically this is all what we find. So like we said, we'll put this first memory, or the primary memory, supposed to be logged in. Secondary memory, it's already connected. Then now we can get to connect the power. Okay, it's a bit shaky. Okay, I think you can see there's power already there. The light is gone on. So we've connected that. Then here for display sake, because we don't have a monitor that is going to give us a display, so we are using this one. So we can get to connect. Okay, I think there's a good connection here. So we've connected to the monitor there. What we do is normally we'll come to the switch button, press on, power on. We should have a light there if a power on is on. Okay, the light is there. The next thing, we should view something coming this side, as we have seen. So what is it telling us from here? It's telling us that the hard disk has got an error. The hard disk. Which one is our hard disk? It's a hard drive here. So they're telling us this hard drive is not okay. It has a problem. Can you get to work around it, or can you get to replace it? So what we can do is we can even turn off to see if it will give us the same information. Turn off the computer from the power on. Can disconnect the hard drive. Let's just see if the computer will think that the hard drive is not connected. So at this point, we can go to the on button. Press on. Okay, power has gone on. Okay, let's look this side. What does this show? I think it's still loading, because we have no information that has been posted. If you can feel, the fan is running. It's actually running where it is right now. It's running. So the essence, like we said, is to cool the system. If you are to hold here, just right here where I'm holding, it's already heating. So what is keeping this system to be cooled is because of this fan that is running. So it's keeping our system cool. And as you can see, fortunately we are not able to see anything here. It's just taking a bit of some time. We don't have the whole day. We'll try to turn it off. so that we give it another try. Okay, I've turned it on. Let's see if something comes up also. Okay, I think it's still trying to load, trying to look for the hard drive, trying to look for other extended connections that are added on.
Yeah, so just as seen from the video footage, there you can get to see how the information get to flow. So we said it's the input device first. So we are feeding information to the system. We have the computation done, the output device, and there's the storage devices that are connected. That is basically how the information flows as the chart that area explained. So now we mentioned that the system unit 2 will repeat off to show how the components are connected. This is, pay attention to the next video also. So as you can see, that is the CPU. Most of them you just have one side that slides off. Once you pull it, it will open as such. Once we remove that, that's a system unity. So let's get to open it further. Okay, so as you can see from this one, this is the fan, and underneath it there is a metal plate. There is a metal plate. Underneath the metal plate, that's where the processor is. So the fan is keeping it cool. The next you're seeing here, this computer has two RAM slots. So this is the RAM slot. This is how the RAM is removed and pushed in to extend. So you can put one here and another one here. There's no problem to increase the speed, the space. So this is the RAM. The RAM on it has sizes. You can see there is a 8 somewhere in front there. It has a 8 GB. Due to poor visual of the camera, I think you see there is a 8 there. So that's 8 GB. So that's the size of this RAM. So you can get 16, you can get 32, you can make 8 to make 16. Basically, you can keep extending. There is a speaker here, which is there to play music. There is a hard drive here, that is your secondary storage. So you can also extend the hard drive, you can put one or two. What we are having also here on the motherboard is a power supply. So this power supply here, once you put your power cable here to connect for power here, the power is reduced or stepped down in the transformer that is located in this hard drive. What you're seeing here is a motherboard. The whole of this is a motherboard that is housing all these components that we have here. There are a lot of connections that will be there, but the principle is just one and the same. It's just the information flow, the computation after it is done, the feedback that is given. In this one's a graphic card. Some of them have this slot here where you can come and put your graphics card. That's what we mentioned for better graphics of the video that we are viewing. In front of this, we have a CD-ROM or DVD drive in front. It's slightly in front of this, so we open the cover to remove it. But basically, the principle should be understood from this video. So this is now what summarizes everything that we've looked at, the area picture we've looked at. So the input device, we are pushing information through the USB ports because we are connecting the external keyboard to the computer or to the system unity through the USB ports. So once we command what we want to do, the information now from the USB ports is fed through the buses, which is the road that information will flow. So it goes to the motherboard. When it goes to the motherboard, the processor understands and computes what that means. If it is letter Q we pressed, it will understand that what was pressed is letter Q. Then it will say, I want to store this information for future usage. Should Max or should anyone else come wanting to check up what this information is about? So it would counter check on the RAM as it will be using that for storage sake. Then it will keep the hard drive permanently storage. After the information has been fed up, it will now go release it through the output device so that we see on the screen that that is the R that has been pressed. So this is how the information flow for all and every other activity that we are doing. It's a movie, it's whatever that you're doing on your computer. Basically, that is it. And this ends actually our slide for today. So if you have understood from this pictorial view, it will give you all the information that you need in terms of how information get to flow. We want to understand each and every component and how information is fed to it before it reaches the next stage. As a personal computer, you need to understand this. This will also help you sometimes when you're choosing a computer. Sometimes some people will be wanting, you want to buy a computer, you want to do what. These are the things that you have to look at. What type of a processor does this computer have? I need something that is good, that can process information fast enough. When I press A, I don't want it to start loading. When I open a movie, I want that and then it starts playing. So basically, this is now the processor that you're looking for. You want to look for a computer with a good processor. We want to look for a computer with a good RAM because this is interconnected. It's a disk space for temporal usage, but it has to be big enough to accommodate much information. So this is the RAM. You make sure that at least the RAM is big enough. You want to look for a hard drive because you want to store this information. This whatever you open on the RAM is not going to stay there for good once the computer is off. You're going to keep that information on the hard drive. So you make sure that the hard drive that you have is good enough to be able to store as much information as necessary, as needed by you. Then, of course, there are other things that you need, maybe a good battery, good looks for the cover, but though those are not the major concept of a computer. What underlines the computer is what type of a motherboard is in, what are the chip type of components, what are the value, the machinery that has been put in there, how is the cooling system. Many people now, they make a mistake. There are computers that are made in other outside countries, like Iceland and others. Most of those computers, if you look at them or open them, they don't have the fan. The reason why they are not put with the fan, because where they're coming from is a cool region. When you come to our countries like the southern region of Africa, you find that heat, we feel it to the highest extent, so to say. So because of that high heat, you make sure that the computer you're getting at least as a fan. That will save you for a longer period of time. Imagine you're using a computer, then the processor starts overheating. Your processor starts overheating. It's so busy overheating. That's an easy way to kill a computer. And now, because of that, you'll be making sure that they have a small fan that you buy, you put outside. Now, those are the things that you don't need. You need a computer that has a fan. If possible, it has 2 or 3, 4 fans. Wow, better. The chances of you surviving using that computer. This ends the slide. If there are any questions, as usual, let's come to the group, we post, and find a way to look through the answers. Next week, we look at the software and how the software get to work in the computer. Thank you very much.